When you often think of capitalism versus socialism, you often think of greed versus equality. And I'm going to tell you why that's wrong. I'm going to tell you why capitalism, in truth, and responsible capitalism, is much more better than socialism. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. I'm going to start with some definitions. Then we're going to move on to some history on socialism. I'm going to evaluate some of the differences between socialism and capitalism, and then give my concluding views. Let's start with the definitions of both socialism and capitalism first. According to the dictionary, socialism is an economic and political system under which the means of production are publicly owned. Production and consumer prices are controlled by the government to best meet the needs of the people. Capitalism, on the other hand, is an economic system under which the means of production are privately owned. Production and consumer prices are based on a free market system of supply and demand. So the first difference we can already see between capitalism and socialism is that in socialism there's much more government control, but in capitalist systems the market is free and prices are more determined by supply, demand, and what the overall consensus on what the value of that product should be. Now, I'm pretty sure, and I'm actually 90% confident, that you right now watching this video don't actually know what socialism is. And I'll prove it to you. The truth is, socialism is made up of all these different kinds of systems. You have utopian socialism, anarchism, Marxism, Leninism, and democratic socialism. So let's start with some history so you sort of understand where these different systems came from and why socialism is what it is now. So socialism started from this very utopian state in the 19th century, utopian meaning idealistic. It started in small villages and some businesses, and it was basically a model to sort of balance out society. Back then, it also meant that it was shared ownership and co-op, and that there would be a selected few elected to control that. Of course, this model couldn't apply to bigger scales. There wasn't support for it, and neither was there a way. Really, the problem with utopian socialism was that it was an idea, and there was an idea of how it would work, but not how it would become. The next step in socialism was anarchism. Now, anarchism sounds like anarchy, but don't get the words confused. The anarchists essentially believed that government was the bad guy. That government aided corporations, and that without government, there would be a much more socialist society, a much more fair society. So anarchists believed that we didn't need the person at the top. There was no need for governments. Now, the interesting about anarchism is that it did actually work in one circumstance, and we have records of it. It was in Catalonia, and it was in the 20th century, during the Spanish Civil War and a bit before that. It was called anarcho-syndicalism, and anarcho-syndicalism was a method of anarchism to be implemented. And the amazing thing about anarcho-syndicalism was that there were no control markets. There was not even any money. Yeah, that's right, there was no money in the system. But the amazing thing about it was that when people went to visit, they saw a society which was egalitarian. It was fair, it was equal, it was happy. And so after the anarchist socialism, there came Marxism and Leninism. Marxism and Leninism are actually two different things. Marxism came from this guy, and Leninism came from this guy. Marx and Lenin, pretty easy stuff. Now they both believe methods of production should be state-owned. Marxism believed that to do that, though, proletariat, basically society, had to be in control, and that would be done through revolution. Leninism, however, believed that an authoritarian regime, essentially, or a main power needed to be in charge. The thing of socialism, in most instances of socialism, it was applied by an authoritarian apparatus, right? It wasn't done in the way anarchism in Catalonia was done, or Marxism proposed. In China was Mao, and Russia was Stalin. All these models were based on a dictator, and hence socialism from the start has already had a problem. But let's say that socialism was perfect, that we knew how to implement it, that there was a society which was willing to accept that model into the economic markets, into their lives. Let's say that step was complete. Let's not discuss that huge step, okay? So let's just look at socialism versus capitalism, the idea of socialism. How is that compared to capitalism? And here's where the argument comes for capitalism. You see, one of the biggest differences between capitalism and socialism, as we saw in the definitions, was the idea of a free market. Now, what is the advantage of a free market, you ask? It is efficiency. The thing about free markets is there's competition. There's obviously business-to-business competition, and that's why it's sort of fight between different businesses, and that's why we say, survival of the fittest is the capitalist ideology. In some ways, that can be true. Capitalism societies promote is the ability for us to work on innovation. I'm recording this video on a camera. I will upload that and edit it on a computer, and that will go to huge servers in the internet across the world. Now, one of the biggest reasons for the huge technological advancement that we have seen in the last century or so is because of capitalism. It's because of that efficiency idea. When Henry Ford created his cars in America and revolutionized the production line, he had capitalism in mind. he had to provide the best quality cars he could in the lowest cost with the most added value. And capitalism allows that. In a non-capitalist society, in a socialist society, that wouldn't have been necessary. Governments control, society controls all the factories. Prices are stagnant, quality is hence stagnant, there isn't choice. And its products don't need to develop. And so then you start thinking, yeah, okay, so the world that we see here, the advancement that we see, capitalism, in a sense, a source of that. Now you're gonna go like, okay, Karl, socialism provides free healthcare, free education. There isn't that insane wealth inequality you see in capitalist states. I agree with you there. I actually totally agree with you there. Except there's a part of the puzzle that you're actually missing. You see, socialism in today's world is split technically into two things, and that's social democracy and democratic socialism. Now these sound like the same things, but they're actually very different. Democratic socialism is the true utopian socialism, the sort of idealistic version of it, where there's shared ownership of all the market is controlled by the government. But social democracy, social first, democracy second, is a society where the base market itself is capped, but the government offers socialistic incentives. Right? There's a huge difference. Now to give you some examples of social democratic nations, which are actually, in theory, capitalist, because they do have free capitalist markets with private ownership. Let's look at the Scandinavian nations, Sweden, Norway, Finland. They've employed something called the Nordic model, as it is now known, which is a version of social democracy where there is capitalism. These nations have free healthcare, free world-class healthcare, free education up to college, insane equality, insane happiness, and a low distribution of wealth inequality. But these states are actually capitalist, so now you begin to think, well, what is the best way to look at society? And I see this. You see, the title of this video is sort of misleading in the sense that I'm not saying that socialism in its entirety is bad. I think socialism is a very interesting ideology. But what I think is what we need in society is a sort of blend. We need responsible capitalism in the sense that we don't need pure capitalism. And fun fact, the USA is actually not pure capitalist nation. It's actually 6th in the world in terms of its capitalist standard. And it's because it has Medicare and Social Security and things like that, which are socialistic incentives. So what we need is, we need to employ the golden standard of the economic model, which is, at this point, and in my opinion, the Nordic model. We need to employ systems which use capitalism, use the fact that from capitalist societies, you get this mass efficiency, this mass requirement for people to continue developing and advancing technology in order to satisfy choice, in order to continue to develop our products and services in the best way possible. But we also have to manage the incentives and service governments provide. And to reduce this wealth inequality, which is actually huge in the world, the 1% control most of the world. To control that insane wealth inequality, I think we should. A societal model where we offer high taxes, even wealth tax, is important. You see, Bernie Sanders, probably know him, he isn't socialist, he's a social democrat. It's not that he wants socialism to occur, he wants a version of socialism where it blends into capitalism. But by saying that, I still mean that I think capitalism should be the main economic system we manage our world in. Because as I said before, there are not only problems in managing socialism, but there are problems in socialism itself, right? With the lack of efficiency, the lack of requirement to develop, which capitalism solves. I think, again, this blending of capitalism and socialism into a society method where prices are still determined by supply and demand, where there is a free market force, where private individuals do own corporations, and where healthcare is provided by the government, and education as well. I think that's a society which is the perfect society, in my opinion. Of course, I can change my opinion. I'm not saying this is my finalized opinion, of course not. If you have a suggestion, if you have some facts, which I think I probably have missed out, please list them in the comments. And my opinion is ready to change. If your arguments are suitable and decent and well structured, I'm willing to change my opinion. I hope you guys learned something in this video. Of course, it's a debatable topic, so again, leave a comment. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. Please leave a like if you liked the video. If you loved it, hit that fat, juicy red subscribe button. And of course, I will see you in the next one. Peace, guys. Take care.